Corey Taylor. So talking about some Micron filters and stuff on here. Looks like 2 micron versus 10 micron on HPDI. Ended up purchasing a 150 HPI. It's going on an 86 Bittison 1800 center console that I purchased with a 47-gallon tank. I pumped from after the current separator and directly from the fuel center opening to see the health of the current fuel. Both showed no water or any major schmuck in the tank. I know these things are fuel sensitive. Coming from a tank that ran pre-mixed for an ocean runner, my game plan is changing all fuel lines, vent, fill, and supply, and pumping all the old fuel out, adding 10 gallons of ethanol free, driving it around on the trailer to get it to slosh around, and then going to pump that out. I believe the smallest filter on the system is a 3 micron, and it specs for a 10 micron at the fuel water separator. Would running a 2 micron and replace be advantageous compared to the 10? Also, I've seen no signs of needing a tank replacement, but feel that given the age, I should plan on that soon. Is there anything else I should do or add to the current tank before splashing it? Thanks in advance. So, couple things here. First off, on the premix and all that. So yeah, you got to get that premix out of there. You can't have the premix. You got to get that out for sure. It could be good fuel. You said there's no water or a bunch of junk in there, so you could run it in a weed eater or something like that. But definitely you don't want to run that premix in your HPDI. So pump that out, and then at 1986, yeah, we're talking about a 40-year-old fuel tank. It is probably close to being replaced. I would actually, if the fuel lines and all that stuff is in decent shape for right now, I would wait on the vent and the fill and the supply line. I would wait on those for when you do the tank, and that way you can do it all in the same shot. But since you've already checked your pickup, make sure that's all good and clean. The supply lines going to the engine, just that's the biggest thing, is making sure that pickup is clean. So you might want to pull the pickup, because it didn't say that you did that. You said the fuel sender, but the pickup, I would pull the pickup and see what that looks like, if it'll come out. Sometimes they have a screen melted on the bottom of it, so you might not be able to get that bad boy out of there without ripping that screen off. So if that's the case, yeah, I'd leave it for now. Everything looks clean. And on the filter, I wouldn't run the 2 micron in replace of the 10 micron. The 10 micron, the way you think about it is like, it's filtration in a process. So you've got, there's going to be a screen or something on the pickup, and that filters big debris. Then there's a 10 micron water separator that's going to filter out anything else that's on there. And then it's going to go to the 3 micron filter that is that little canister filter that's on the actual engine. But there's also filters on the fuel pumps that are inside there. So you don't go from like the middle to the end. Like, you're going from big to smaller to smaller to smaller, because you're also, a smaller filter, it clogs easier and it creates restriction. So if you put a 2 micron on there, then that potentially could get clogged very easily, and then also create a restriction that your fuel pump won't be able to pull the fuel from your tank to your engine, and you might have fuel supply problems because you put too small of a filter at the beginning when you needed the 10 micron, just so that way you can filter out any of the big stuff that can come from the tank. So now on an 86 Bittison, I really don't know much about them. 1986 Bittison, it's a center console, so I mean, center consoles are center consoles. Let me see what you got here. Let's just take a look at this boat, just so we can kind of see what we're looking at. Let me make my face smaller. There we go. So 1986 Bittison, 18-foot center console fiberglass. Where are images? That's what I want. Looks like a pretty basic boat. Doesn't look like there's going to be too much to it. Looks like a nice looking boat. Obviously, this isn't your boat, but 150 OX66 on there. This looks like a nice little boat. The console can come up. That platform will come up for your fuel, so that wouldn't be too bad for the tank. 86, I basically look at the same things on any boat. I don't care what it is, whether it's a Bittison, whatever it is. anything, if we're talking about a 40-year-old boat, I'm looking at the transom, knocking on the transom, make sure that the transom's not rotten, check the stringers, go in the bilge and knock on the back of the stringers, make sure they're not hollow, and then your fuel tank. So those are the big three things. Outside of that, then it goes onto your engine and then the wiring and all that other stuff. But you got a new engine for it. So, yeah, I think that's kind of where you're at. I don't have anything else that I'd really be looking at outside of those things. But that's the reasoning behind the 10 versus the 2. And then also what I would do, as far as like the supply line, I'd kind of wait until you get the new tank to put in it, because it's going to make it way easier, because all that stuff's going to be apart, and those fill hoses they're a pain to put in there. So yeah, that's kind of the way I would do it, unless there's a problem. Like if the thing's leaking, then like obviously you got to do that. But if there's no problem with it, then I'd wait to do it at the same time that you do the tank.